Welcome to Chris and Sam Build. I'm Samiha,
And I'm Chris.
and we'd like to share with you this PPE project that we've been working on while we've been stuck in quarantine.
It's been helping us maintain our sanity, and it has allowed us to help healthcare workers that are on the front lines.
So everyone knows the deal. COVID-19 is a respiratory illness that's taken over the world. It's scary, it can be fatal, and it's affected all of our lives in one way or another.
It's even postponed our wedding.
Sad.
As states enforce stay-at-home orders, all non-essential workers are finding themselves cooped up at home out of work, furloughed, or working from home. And while at first it might seem like a great time to pick up some new hobbies, work without pants on,
The reality is, we've lost all sense of time and we've ran out of things to watch on Netflix. The essential workers, however, are braving this pandemic and going to work every day so our economy doesn't collapse. Our doctors, nurses, and first responders are at the front lines interacting with an overwhelming amount of COVID patients on a daily basis.
healthcare workers have the most constant exposure to COVID patients, but somehow they do not have the necessary resources. One crucial resource they are lacking is the access to personal protective equipment, or PPE.
The CDC has guidelines for PPE required for healthcare personnel. As you can see, it basically requires you to be covered up head to toe. Now, because we have a shortage of N95 masks, they have approved surgical masks, but really that doesn't offer them the same protection. One thing that does help is having a face shield. Since COVID-19 is so easily transmissible by coughing or sneezing, that face shield kind of blocks off all those sneeze, cough particles. um, I would just like to say that as someone who has a lot of friends who are in the healthcare industry, I'm hearing constantly about how they're having to go against what they've been trained to do their entire lives and put themselves at risk. And I understand that this is a job that, they in a way signed up for. This doesn't mean that they should, go into battle per se without proper defense.
We had noticed that the maker community was coming together during this time to use their 3D printers to start printing out face shields and all sorts of other types of PPE to help out where they can.
So we did a little digging and we found the NIH 3D print exchange.
Yeah, and the exchange has a bunch of models that have been submitted from makers from all over the world, and these models go through a clinical review to be admitted into any sort of hospital.
It was really important that we used a model that was approved, just so we didn't want anyone to face any sort of issues if they had, unapproved PPE and someone says, you can't use that. So each one of these models we can download, ready to print, and they come with, a lot of them come with instructions, how-tos, and maybe print settings for optimal printing time. And it's generally a very helpful website, and there's a great community around it too. A lot of people want to help each other get to the best print.
So we decided to print the Werkstand design, which was made by some awesome people over in Germany. We chose it for a few reasons. For one, it's faster to print, and that's because it was designed to be optimized for the movements of a 3D printer. It's easy to assemble. All it required was a 3-hole punch and those report cover sheets. It didn't require an elastic band to hold it on, which was a big win because some of the early designs we were trying out all needed an elastic band to hold it on your head. But the shipping times for elastic bands was over like several weeks, up to a month, and we didn't want to get set back by that. And this print is stackable, which means we can queue up like a stack of 20 at a time right before we go to bed. That way we wouldn't waste any idle print time while we were sleeping.
So we thought we would actually talk to you about our 3D printers. Our first printer is Ada.
Yeah. So Ada we built when a few months after we first started dating a few years back.
It's a big commitment.
We bonded over like making stuff and 3D printers, and neither of us had owned 3D printers before, and Samiha has used 3D printers a lot back in college, and we wanted to give a go at building one and seeing what we could do. So we ordered a kit, and it was just a whole bunch of parts that we put together over the next few days. And then within,
it was really fun.
yeah, really, and it really taught us like how a 3D printer works and all the mechanics of it. And
yeah, I mean, I think that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I know how
yeah.
long we've been dating. And actually, no, we're married now. And it's been about 3 years, and I think that she worked really well. And, you know, over time, like, we've repaired her, and it's taught us a lot about, like you said, the mechanics of a 3D printer. So she, like, really prepared us for the other printers we eventually got. And fun fact about Ada, she is named after Ada Lovelace.
and she was the first software engineer back in the mid 1800s. So our second printer. So the second printer we got, her name is Grace.
After Grace Hopper.
Grace Hopper.
What is it? Navy Rear Admiral
Mhm.
and
Software engineer.
software. It's really unfair. He's a software engineer. We name all of our printers after software engineers. But sorry, I really like the name.
But yeah, so we got her recently, a couple months ago, when we pitched this idea to our parents, that we wanted to print out all this PPE to help out, and with just the one printer, it was going to be pretty slow.
Yeah.
So we wanted to really like maximize our throughput as much as possible. So we got a generous investment from our parents.
We had to make a pitch and
help
everything.
fund.
Yeah, we had to make a pitch.
Because this is it's a Lulzbot Taz Pro, and it's a high-end FDM printer.
And yeah, it's a little higher on the price point. Like for Ada, I think we spent like $350,
Yeah, 300
maybe
or 400,
Yeah, max.
But it shows in the price.
Right, and so Grace, you know, is about how much?
5,000.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a very generous investment that they made in us. You know, we also, you know, want to be makers, and we want to do other projects in the future. So we're really thankful. But the game changer with Grace is that she has a dual extruder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what is helping us print the stack prints that we were talking about, because the second extruder is printing out like a breakaway filament, so the shields snap apart
Yeah.
when they're done.
We also are able to print with like nylon or
Yeah.
other more like finicky
Like
prints.
more abrasive plastics, and more like plastics that require a very high heat.
Yeah, and one benefit was she was like basically working out of the box.
Yeah.
You know, setup took like maybe 30 minutes as opposed to 3 days for Ada. But again, I'll say because we were able to put Ada together, or we did put Ada together from scratch, it really helped us already kind of be comfortable with such a large, expensive printer.
So our third printer's name is Esther, named after Esther
Liederberg.
a microbiologist.
She's a pioneer microbiologist, all right? And I'm gonna be very honest. I just wanted a name that started with an E, and because she's an Ender 5. That was like basically it, and I really just liked the name Esther. And we wanted to stick with the theme of like female scientists. So I'm sorry, I'll do more reading on Esther Liederberg. So we kind of decided why not go for a full print farm. So we bought a third printer. This time we kind of took that investment in ourselves. And she's a different kind of printer.
Yeah, so she is our two other printers are direct drive extruders, but Esther is a Bowden extruder. So the main difference is, instead of having the extruder as a stepper motor and then the hot end, so it drives the filament directly into the hot end where it melts. The extruder is off on the side, and then it feeds it through this long tube.
Like a Bowden tube, they call it, yeah.
A Bowden tube or a PTFE tube, and it feeds it into the hot end like that, which allows it to go a lot faster because it doesn't have to drag around this heavy stepper motor with it all the time. But it also introduces some other challenges to overcome, such as like clogging or it backing up.
A lot of heat creep issues, I feel.
Yeah, and not a if there's not enough like torque in the extruder, it has trouble pushing it through.
Yeah, we had to do a lot of troubleshooting in the beginning, just because we kind of had it like jam a bit, and we kept hearing this like backstepping sound, and it took a little while, and I think we were a couple of days to like kind of get to the right settings where we can kind of print smoothly, because we were having a lot of extrusion issues. But I will say that, you know, once we got her going, like, she's silent, like you can't hear. I forget there's a printer running.
Yep.
And she prints really fast, and again, it allowed us to get familiar with a different type of like 3D printer, which I think was a really good learning experience, and she looks pretty cool.
So for the face shield, we had a few different print settings that helped us print it faster. We were able to get the time down to about 41 minutes. A few things that we needed to do is increasing the layer height, which means fewer layers, so less time there. We increased the number of walls so that as it's printing the thin bands, it only prints straight lines. Normally there would be like an infill or like a back and forth motion, which would drastically increase the time if we did that. I know some people have gotten this print down to about like even like 20-25 minutes, and that can be because they're using a wider nozzle.
What's our nozzle here?
We're using a 0.4 millimeter, which is like the standard size that came on most of our printers. But you can upgrade that, and a good size would be, for this model, might be like 0.8. And that means you can print thicker lines and also taller lines.
If you can see here, this is an example of what Chris was talking about, is kind of maximizing this print just to be like all lines and not have an infill where you have like a lot of zigzag motions. So here's a stacked model in Lulzbot Slicer. We wanted to basically show you what that looked like. This is one of the benefits of having a Lulzbot with a dual extruder, and basically this allowed us to print overnight and then make up for lost print time. We also put together a quick how-to video on how to assemble shields that we put up on Instagram for anyone who is interested, and they're really quick and easy. We started off using the 3-hole punch, but we switched over to the 6-hole punch, which just used like a little offset piece to make 6 holes instead of 3, and those are a lot sturdier. Thanks to now having 3 printers, we were able to produce a lot more on a daily basis, and you know, we were printing upwards of, you know, maximum maybe 30 a day.
Yeah, 25 to 30. Along with the face shields, we've also been printing these like mask reliever straps. They relieve pressure off your ears, which really help with long-term use of any sort of like surgical mask or N95 mask.
These were relatively quick to print, so we got, and they're a little small too, so we were able to print up to 7 at a time. And it was a pretty fast print, and it really does help because, I mean, I hate wearing a mask, and if I have to wear one for more than an hour, my ears really hurt.
We also printed this, it's like a stopgap mask cover, and it's used to, you put it over a surgical mask, and the intention is to seal the gaps around the side, which gives it a much closer filtration to the N95 masks. Through our personal connections and people reaching out to us on Instagram, we're able to donate to Woodhull Hospital, a group of EMTs with the FDNY, Jamaica Hospital, NYU Family Medicine, Brookdale, New York Presbyterian Uptown and Brooklyn, and St. Francis.
3D printers and technical stuff aside, a big reason why we were able to do all of this was because of the support that we've gotten and the amount of donations that we got as soon as we announced that we were going to start making PPE. Initially, we didn't even think about taking donations, but people wanted to give us donations, so we took and made a Venmo handle. I was very begrudgingly. And I'm glad we did, because we would have ran out of supplies very fast. And maybe we would have been able to make 150 maybe. And we, filament's going away pretty fast too. We saw a lot of the filament that we wanted to buy had gone out of stock. So thanks to the fact that we had donations, we were able to buy in bulk the amount of filament that we think we would need. And Chris, how many rolls of filament have we used so far?
We've been through at least 10.
Yeah, and how many do we have waiting?
Probably another 5.
Yeah, so we've been able to print so many, and we're gonna keep going. And I mean, if it wasn't for the people who were donating and supporting us, we wouldn't even have gotten to. I think we're over 450 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. We've been, we're super appreciative, and we couldn't have done this without you. Thanks everyone for watching our video on our PPE journey. If you guys have any comments or stories that you'd like to share of your own, please leave us a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
And be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up to date with what we'll be doing. If this piqued your interest in 3D printers, we'll have some links down in the description to some 3D printers that we recommend. Yeah, that's it for us. Bye.
Bye.